Hey all, my name is Dawn, and because I'm just so computer savvy, I just did this whole video, but I forgot to hit the record button, so we're going to try this again. Anyway, I wanted to do a little video about a condition that I have called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, type 3 hypermobility type, actually the most common of the 6 types. A lot of the videos that I see on YouTube come from people that are much younger, in their maybe teens and 20s. And I love them, and I love watching them, and I love to see how motivated and how strong these women and men are. You will see more women doing these than you will see men, probably. I want to give just a little history of what EDS is and how I got diagnosed. So we all have genes in our body that are responsible for doing certain things. And some of those genes are responsible for making collagen. You've probably heard of collagen for your skin, for your nails. You know, people like to take it to help them with nice skin and joints and things. And that's all great. It's just all kind of surface collagen. My genes, unfortunately, the gene or genes responsible for making the collagen for my connective tissue are mutated. And so the quality of the collagen that I have is very poor. I grew up being what they call double jointed. Okay, which means that my joints move beyond their normal range of motion. I'm not going to show you my tricks because it hurts me to do it. It didn't used to, but it does now. But I could do things like take this thumb and bend it all the way down. I used to sit in very weird positions. My elbows bend a little bit backwards. And back when I was about 18, 19 years old, I noticed that if I went up or down a few stairs, that the next time I had to do that, you know, if it was within a few minutes, that my knees would buckle and they would hurt. Mostly my right one. And that right knee just continued to get worse and worse. Got into my mid-20s, had my first baby, and I would sit on the floor to play with him, and sometimes I think I wouldn't be able to get up because the pain in my knees would just be so bad. Went to an orthopedist who told me I was too young to have these problems and there was nothing wrong with me. Heard that a lot, and a lot of EDSers have heard that a lot. That seems to be a very common thing that doctors say when we're young, is that we're too young for these issues. Things progressed through my life. My other knee started, my hips started, and pretty soon I just was in full body pain. So I started seeing a new primary care doctor a little over 20 years ago, and I told him about these issues. And he was wonderful, and he tried his best. He worked with me. He sent me to rheumatologists, neurologists. He sent me for lupus tests, MS tests, arthritis, zero rheumatoid arthritis, regular rheumatoid arthritis. And we just couldn't figure it out. Basically, I would get things like, just keep getting your joints replaced. Do you feel better? Or I'm so excited to meet somebody that's just so lax. And what tricks can you do? Kind of a circus monkey feeling when I left that place. So about 2 years ago, I just was so tired of being in pain all the time. And at this point, I'd had my right knee replaced. I had my left knee replaced. I had my left hip replaced. And really, none of them really healed the way most people have healings from these things. I still had a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, you know, and a lot of limitations on those joints. So I found an alternative pain management doctor here in Connecticut, not too far away, and I went to see him. Excuse me, my eye itches. And I filled out a stack of paperwork. And on one of those pages, there was a picture of a body. And I had to fill in every area with the letter A or P for where I had aches and pains. And pretty much that was every single joint. So he took a look at that paper and he said, wow, because I know exactly what's wrong with you. Are you hypermobile? Hypermobile is the term for what we used to say about double jointed, which means that excessive range of motion. I said, yes, I am. He said, you have Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. Well, I have to tell you, I left that appointment. I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, I have this rare disease and I'm so excited and I finally have answers. And then I started researching it. And about 2 weeks after that, really, I have to be honest, depression kicked in because I realized that there was no cure for this. There's really, you can manage it, and that's about it. There's no such thing as an EDS doctor. And there really can't be because of the way it affects our bodies. So let me explain that a little bit. Like I said, we have collagen, which is the glue that holds our bodies together. So my tendons are supposed to be, see if I have a rubber band in here. Tendons should be like this. You know, they stretch and then they stretch back when you move, when you bend a joint. Okay. People with EDS, our tendons are more way out here and then they go back. But what happens is when they're way out here, our joints then are very loose and jiggly. And so we can dislocate very easily. Thankfully, I don't do a lot of dislocations. I do have 2 thumbs that are dislocated. One, I don't know how it happened. The other one happened when I was spreading peanut butter on a piece of bread for my husband. I mostly sublux, which means my joints come out a little bit and slide back in. It's painful. You'll hear a lot of popping and cracking. We kind of joke that it's like Rice Krispies, you know, snap, crackle, pop. Sometimes they hurt, sometimes they don't. Most of the time they do, but the pain goes away pretty quickly. So anyway, really there cannot be an EDS doctor. They would have to know every single system of our body because it doesn't just affect our joints, it affects our internal organs too. For me, it is now affecting my intestinal tract and my bladder, and we're trying to work through that. To give you a brief rundown, I have TMJ. My mouth only opens so far, and my jaw is capable of slipping out when I lay down and to the back, and I have to sit up and kind of put it back in place. It pops constantly, so you don't see me opening my mouth very wide because that's painful, besides the fact that I really can't. My neck is very messed up. We have a natural curve that's a backward C. Mine is completely reversed to a forward C. There are 2 herniated discs, and there is severe stenosis, which is just a severe arthritis. I don't know about the middle of my back, but my lumbar spine, which is the very low end of your spine, I have some disc issues there, and I also have the vertebrae fusing together. It's called the natural fusion, which apparently is not a bad thing to have when you have EDS, because some people have to go in and have it done, and that's quite painful. I mentioned my thumbs. My hands are very messed up. I don't know if you could tell in the pictures with my fingers, but my pinkies curve over to the other finger. I have these little bunny slopes, I call them, like little bunny ski slopes. I do not have my rings on right now. I took them off to give my hands a break, but I have rings to keep my fingers in place because they get very sore and very tired. When you have loose joints, your muscles end up trying to work overtime to keep you tightened together, and it can cause spasms and a lot of muscle pain. So I usually wear the rings all the time, as I usually have both hands, usually in these, to keep the thumbs and the wrists good. My wrists are a real problem for me. I flush a toilet, I open a cabinet, and I can kind of, I guess it subluxes. It does something where it pops, and it's very painful for a while. So I, generally speaking, have these on all the time, even to sleep. I have tendonitis of the shoulder in my bicep. So if my pain is in my bicep, I can't lift my arm up anymore. My elbows lock up. Hips are very bad. One's been replaced. Knees are still very bad, even though they've both been replaced, one of them twice. Thank you so much. I have tendonitis in my ankle. If I roll my ankles, they crunch and grind like you just can't believe. And right to my toe joints. My toes are very hypermobile. They can go perpendicular to my feet, and they just ache. So that is kind of what I deal with on a daily basis. Some days are not bad. Today's not a bad day. And that's because it's a little bit warmer and it's not raining. Very hot, miserable. Very cold, miserable. Rain and cold, just don't even get me out of bed. I'm just going to stay in there with my electric blanket. There isn't a whole lot that anybody can do for us. Even though those of us with EDS, and we call ourselves zebras. I'll explain that in a minute. So us zebras, we have a lot of doctor's appointments. Not because they can do anything, but because we have to see kind of where we're at in the range of things. How bad are the joints? Is there anything we can do? Can we do physical therapy or water therapy? We spend a lot of time in physical therapy. We spend time in occupational therapy. I had to learn how to hold a pen or a pencil. I can't do this because it hurts so much. So instead I have to hold it like this. And even then I can only write a little bit before my hand starts to ache really bad. So I've taken to typing everything. Um, so yeah, our days are interesting. You can wake up one day and everything hurts. You can wake up in another day and you could just have a few things that give you issues. It has stopped me from walking. I just can't walk anymore. I take a wheelchair when I go to, like, we just went to a hockey game the other night. I took my wheelchair. If we go to the mall, which is seldom, or go on vacation, I take my wheelchair because walking is just very painful for me. And at times, my right leg will just completely give out on me, and that's not a lot of fun. So, wheelchair, I use a cane. Um, Not too much around the house, but I do use a cane when I'm out and about, especially on uneven ground outside because I'm just not real steady. I have an issue with balance. Um, and on top of all of that, because of the severe pain and just because of the amount of work our bodies are trying to do to keep themselves tight and together, I am tired all the time. Makeup and clothes and doing my hair make me look a lot more awake than I usually feel. Today I have no makeup on. Next time I do a video like this, I will definitely put on some makeup and brush my hair and maybe look a little more presentable. But this is kind of a first time trial video. And really the reason I wanted to do it again, like I said in the beginning, is that there's a lot of videos out there and I love them. And they're all by usually young girls in their 20s. And I wanted something from somebody older. And at 56, I am older. So I wanted to put something out there for people that are a little older that want to know, like, what is it like to have this? And how do you deal with it? And what can I do? And what are some tips and tricks? So I'm going to go into some of those little life hacks, like the way I was taught to hold the pen in another video. But I just kind of wanted to introduce myself and get a video out there to explain to people what this is. You know, there are commercials for lupus and for cancer, and there are billboards for all kinds of diseases, and there are fundraisers. But when it comes to EDS, I tell people, even in the medical field, I told a woman today who was taking an x-ray of my knee and I said, I have EDS, and she looked at me and she said, you have what? So I say, well, I have a connective tissue disorder. And that she understood. But then when I explained it to her, she was wowed. She'd never heard of somebody having something that affects every single joint and body part that we have. So I want to get the word out there. People need to know. You might be watching this. You could be a stranger to me and you know somebody that's in a whole body pain whose joints hurt all the time and they can't figure out what's wrong with them. This could potentially help them. I wish I had met somebody like me before all this. I wouldn't have had years and years of doctor's appointments. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track. I am going to come back. I'm going to do something with, some of my hacks, show you some of my braces, my wheelchair that I decorated, my cane and all that. But once again, my name is Dawn. I live in Connecticut. I'm 56 and I am a zebra. Oh, yes, I told you. The reason we're called zebras is because when doctors are in medical school, there's a line that they're taught. And that line says, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. In other words, go for the common, not the uncommon. And that's what happens when you go to doctors. They go for the common first. But some of them don't ever get to the uncommon because they don't know it and they don't learn it. So, little tiny bit of education for you, a little bit of trivia. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye, everybody.